Hi everybody, welcome to DiFebo's Market in Bethany Beach. We are coming to you live on Facebook. My father Bobby. Today we are doing a cooking demo. We're doing them every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. I might want to switch it to 11. It's very early to have to get here at 10 o'clock. But today we are going to do one of our favorite family meals. And a lot of people are aware of it. We have a great crowd here today. If anybody wants to show up, we do tastings afterwards, just to let you know. And you can register on, what is it, Megan? Eventbrite. So today we're doing a dish. It's called Spezzatino. We call it Spitzad, but the true Italian name is Spezzatino. Spezzatino. My cousin is watching from Italy, and I know I'm mispronouncing this. But basically what it is it's a veal stew. And whenever I do these Facebook demos, I love kind of looking into the origins, because sometimes my family changes the recipe. We'll get into that in just a minute. But we always used it for birthdays, christenings. What else?
Any party.
Any party. We always had Spitzad sandwiches. If my cousins are watching, if anyone's watching, we would have the Spitzad and we would put it on a great little roll. Oh my God! And it is delicious.
These are really small rolls.
These are little nice tiny rolls.
These are about like that usually.
We would use a bigger roll at home because that would be our meal. So what I want to...
These are the ingredients.
These are the ingredients, yes.
Okay.
So basically, if you do any researching on this Spezzatini, I need to call it Spitzad, because that's the way we call it. If you do any research on this, you'll find that there's so many different variations. There's the peas and potato variation. There's the red pepper variation. We were brought up on red pepper and mushroom because it's a sandwich. We always ate it as a sandwich. So the first thing I wanted to
what? Also, when we didn't have a lot of money, so my Spitzad would be really a special occasion. But you can get hot sausage or sweet sausage and cut them, and instead of the veal, you can do exactly the same thing with the sausage
and chicken.
And believe me, it's a lot cheaper than $9 veal or $10 veal to get sausage, which is really great. And we used to have that a lot. If my mom or dad didn't have a lot of money, believe me, you knew when we didn't have a lot of money that day, because she either had sausage or or something like that. But veal was always the choice that we would have if we had the money to do it.
Okay. So what I did was, this dish definitely takes a couple hours to make. So what we did is we're going to do the same thing that we did last week. I made this yesterday, and we're going to kind of put it together. But what we're going to taste today is what we made yesterday. And I have to say that it's always better the day after. Okay?
And you have to really do that on a demonstration like that, because you don't have the 2 hours, to do it.
So I don't have the wine.
No wine. I told you that before.
I want to share one thing real quick as we get... Anyway, we're going to start. So I do need a bowl. I thought I had everything I needed, but Sky, when you get a second, will you grab me a silver bowl from the back over there?
Always start off with a little bit of oil. Right? But guess what?
What?
I can't get the oil.
I'm going to also... For this...
Wait, show him you're doing that.
I am. I'm going to start off also while he's opening the oil. I don't want lots of garlic in this, right?
No. You don't want overpowering garlic, because it's not a garlic dish.
Right. So I'm just going to kind of do this. And as my father is struggling with the oil, how about if we use this one?
That's fine.
There. And also, you don't want as much oil as I've showed you in the past. Right?
Cover the bottom.
Yeah.
That's what my mother always used to tell me.
Thank you.
Cover the bottom.
So during this demo, you might see that my dad and I might do a few things different.
Right. The way I do it is what my mother taught me. She changes things.
Listen.
But only 3 cloves for everything that we're going to do is 3. You don't want a lot. And my cousin's from Italy. Hello, girls. I had to say that.
So I'm going to start off with taking the veal and putting it in a bowl, right? And we're going to season it. Now, go ahead.
Usually,
This is going to be a tough demo.
these pieces to me are too big. What I do is cut them, make them smaller. Yes.
However, if you cut them and it cooks for hours, it does break down.
It does not. It doesn't count because it tastes better.
Now, I also will take this and I will just give it a little, a little bit of the salt and pepper in here. Now, I'm not going to put my hands back in here, remember, because I've already touched the veal. So I always have a dirty hand and a clean hand. Now, I put a little bit of flour in this.
And I don't.
And he doesn't. But I like it a little thicker. Even if you make a stew at home.
Yes.
So last night,
I never put flour in.
No, but he butt dialed me. And I heard him talking to my mom, and he was complaining about me.
Phones are really rough, I'll tell you that much.
He said, that girl, because I like putting wine in mine as well. And he goes, that girl, she's got to change everything. So there.
She does. But anyway, what I do is, a lot of places you'll go to, the veal, you'll have a lot of fat. And what I do is I go through all the meat. It takes a little while, but boy, is it worth it.
Oh, it's so good.
And I cut the fat off. You know what I mean? And a lot of times what they'll have is that vein, which is really tough.
Which is the silver skin.
What is the veal? Where do you get it?
It's a stewing veal.
It's already cut up. It's already cubed.
Chopped.
You can buy that at
Yes.
G&E.
G&E, buy it G&E.
Yeah, they have great meats. I buy
But
a lot of my meats.
Like
there.
I said, a lot. You'll see a lot of it has vein through it and fat. And my mom and dad always, that was one thing they always did. He didn't mind standing over it, cutting it, you know what I mean, and cutting the fat off.
But I will also say too that
But
there's
this
a
is
difference.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is
I really
beautiful.
mean it. That's
Fat is flavor, so you want to make sure you're cutting and trimming the correct fat.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You can do it anything.
Any meat at all. Any meat at all.
You took my knife.
Well, I was just cutting it. See, what I just
Sorry,
try to
can
do
I
is
have
make it
another
bite
knife?
size. These are nice size.
You gotta
What? Move faster?
just get it in.
Not yet. It's not even. Look, it's got to go up higher.
So the same thing we're going to do. The first thing we have to do is we have to sear it, right? Because we're going to sear the flavor in.
And the oil's not hot yet.
It's not?
No. You had it on 10. All right.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
So it's doing right now. It's just.
No. Because if the garlic starts to burn, you're going to kind of put the fire out by putting something cold in.
Yes.
And it'll stop it immediately, which I do at home all the time because I get sidetracked. So I kind of started prepping some of your peppers because I like peppers and I really like the flavor. I feel like green peppers, in a lot of the recipes they use only green peppers because I think a lot of it is probably because red peppers are more expensive. So in those days, they probably they use the cheaper of the pepper. But so we're going to use mostly red with a little bit of green. I always like that little bit of green to just kind of give it some depth of flavor. And then I want to just show you this. We just kind of cut them. I take the center white out, and honestly, you don't have to, but I do.
I don't.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't.
But it's just coming.
Can I have a sheet tray? So what we're going to do, he doesn't know it yet.
Surprise! Surprise! Surprise!
No, seriously, we're gonna sear all.
Some of them so big, you know what I mean? That's why I like to cut it.
At home, we would be making this in a very big pot, in a large pot. But because we have to make it quick, we're going to be making it in this. Now, if there's just two of you at home, this is perfect, honestly. But you want to sear half that meat, and because if you crowd your pot, if you crowd your pan, if anything is touching when you sear, whether you're searing steak or fish or anything, it's going to create moisture and you will not get that beautiful dark color on it. So it really, I've seen people do this where they actually do one at a time and flip it. We don't have time for that. So we're really going to try to just let it sit for a minute and then kind of let it sear. And then we're going to take out that once it's brown, and then we're going to saute our peppers. Okay, just because our pan is so small. Now, Save some of that for afterwards too. He's going to do his veal with some parsley. This is really a delicious dish. And I started this. I have everything written down. If you want, we're going to do about 1 pound of stewed veal meat, stewing meat. We're going to do 1 cup of white wine, which we're not going to do because he's being fussy today and gave me some crap about it. I would put the wine in, and I made this yesterday. What? I can tell your face. I put the wine in yesterday after I seared the meat because what happens is the bottom of the pan, you get all that brown font. So you want to deglaze that. Now, I also deglazed last night with some tomato puree. So anything you want to put in there to lift up the brown. Now, remember what I said about if you put too much meat? He has too much meat in here. Well, no, we don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice, seriously.
And because, let it sit for just a minute and let it try to get some color, right? But
Yes.
see how it's almost creating a liquid? It's kind of what you don't want, right? Now, when we add the peppers, it's kind of what you do want, right? You want that flavor. So the stewing veal, light oil, don't overcrowd the pan, let it get nice and dark, and don't touch it. And then with the
She's kicking me. I'm turning each piece over.
no, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Now you're getting a little bit of color. We're going to kind of rush through this a little bit, right? Because we want to try to keep our demos at 30 minutes, Doug.
All right.
So, and then do you like your mushrooms I like my mushrooms a little thicker. Like I don't like them as, right, small. I hope you guys, while my dad's playing around with his veal,
I'm just turning it over.
here, you can start taking some of it out, but
I will.
try to not put the fat in with it. I want to
Oh, we
show
have
you.
a spider?
Here. We're going to take some of it out. Now watch, I'm going to just show you the difference. I'm going to take some of the oil out. And then, yes. Yes. Again, the reason why we're removing it, you don't have to do it this way. It's because we have a smaller vessel. And so we're making more. I need enough for all of you to taste it, right? So while he's doing that, and then just try, I just want you to put, and also this like pan, I like using stainless steel. Stainless steel will give you a whole different, and you know what else I really, my La Creuset, my Dutch oven. That's the best.
Give me the pepper.
Just put like a cupful. No. Watch. Even you probably needed half of that, but watch what'll happen if they don't touch each other. Don't touch it. I'm serious. I just want to show you something. And in here are I have the tweezer tongs. I'll get them just so you show it.
I don't have the tweezer tongs.
No?
No.
Okay. You are too much, Dad. All right.
No.
So you're getting some color on this. See? You're getting more color.
But I do the same thing with it all. I'll just stir it around.
No, Dad, yours doesn't have as much color on it.
Look at it. It's beautiful.
It is absolutely beautiful, but I like the color. Do you know why we sear things? To lock all
The
that flavor in, right? I mean, my husband, it makes me a little crazy because he'll sear the bottom, then he'll flip it, then he does the side, then he does the other side, where he encapsulates the whole entire piece of meat.
Okay, this is it.
I don't have enough patience for that. All right, so now you saw what happens when you don't crowd it. Now we're going to crowd it again because, again, look how beautiful that is. So also I want to share, we're going back to Italy. We've decided, because people are asking us to change the date to May. Just because April, they're complaining a little bit that it's too close to the holiday. So we are going to be going back. Do you remember the dates?
No. Nice something.
So if anybody is interested in, oh my God, we have such a good time in Italy. We eat, we do cooking classes. We walk a lot.
We
walk a lot. Yeah. Now, if you just sit that there for a minute, I'm gonna let you know what we've got going on. Oh, and I want to also share that I've never worn contacts before, and today I have contacts, and I'll never wear contacts again. It is blurry. I can't see. In fact, I don't even know if I can read. I do. I don't know how you guys do it. I could not pull the thing down. I couldn't get it in. No, not yet. Let's just get this up higher. So what we've got going on here is we've got a Valentine's Day baking on 124. We have a demo and dinner with fresh pasta on 131. On 2-3, we have a Valentine's Day event with Stable Studio, where we are sponsoring it. Megan will give you more information about that. But are they bringing their bites here? Oh, it's just, okay, great. That's awesome. We have a wine dinner in Rehoboth on February 4th. And we have a ravioli day, a ravioli class on the 7th. Cake decorating class on February 21st. Beer dinner with Dewey Beer Company on the 6th of March. Chef's table dinner on March 13th. And 27th, which I got to get another one scheduled, is a knife skills class. I've been talking about knife skills. I didn't realize it, but I also turned this up. It really should be up higher, so I apologize. And then last week we talked about using our ears to cook, right? Hear it? You can hear it now. It's really like making a difference. Okay, so we're going to turn that over, and then I'm going to keep cutting as he's doing this. And then we have our Italy class. We're going to Italy. Basically what we do, it's all-inclusive to go to Italy. All-inclusive. We do it with Grandview Tours. We fly over together. We spend the night in a great hotel. Then the next morning we meet, we eat, we go to markets, we go to grocery stores, we get our hair done, we take cooking classes, we go to bakeries, and all the people that I've met over in Italy, I take you guys to their shops. We go to olive oil tastings included, 2 different cooking classes. One is on a farm. We cook, farm to table type food, and then one is in the city, and we cook Florence city food, which is great, with more, like the toques and the chefs and all that. We work with different flours. We make ravioli, pasta. It's wonderful. And then the very last night, and Denise from Grandview Tours is amazing. The very last night, we go to this fabulous restaurant with fabulous food in Rome, and we sing. And there's a little band that does Italian music, and it is amazing. And that's why we call it Cooking and Culture with DiFebo's restaurant, because we do a lot of culture and we do a lot of cooking. We go to museums. It's amazing. It really is amazing. For those of you that are interested, you can either go on our website, contact Megan, or you can contact Grandview Tours Denise. Okay. All right. So this were pretty good. I'm going to add, now remember I salted this, right? But remember what we've talked about in the past? Every time we add something, we're going to salt it. So I am going to salt and pepper. And now if we want to add that back in, or wait, no, not yet. I'm sorry. It's because it's so small. We're not used to cooking in these small things.
My mother had it's like a roasting pan.
Yeah.
The old days, they had a roasting pan so high with a lid on it. That's what she would do to Spezzatino every time. That was it. Then she would serve it right in there.
I'm not going to add any more green peppers.
That was really big.
So now let's put the lid on that, because we have to remember we talked also about last week is see the steam. By adding a lid, the steam comes up, and then it goes back down, and it'll create broth. So anytime you're making soups or sauces, you want to lid it first, right? You want to create that initial broth. That's how you get the flavor. Those first steps are how you get the flavor of your food, all right? And that's one thing I do have to say. We might disagree. Oh, shit. We might disagree. We're going to put some onion in there, too.
Not a lot.
And it's tiny. If I cut it, I would have... Yeah, I have this. I wrote it down today, so Megan will put it up immediately. And then we're going to put our mushrooms. remember the knife class I was telling you about? Teach you how to use a knife. Remember, we're going to hold it. Put your thumb here. You're going to hold it like this. And then you're going to use the tip of the knife. All right. And washing mushrooms. So it's so interesting that everybody's different. If I see that the mushroom is dirty, I wipe the mushrooms. I very rarely put them underwater. Now here we get super clean mushrooms, so at the restaurants. But at home, that looks great. Okay, so now we're going to sweat that for a minute. We're going to put the lid on it.
We'll put this in here.
Let's sweat the vegetables first before we...
It's the back of you.
Huh?
It's the back of you.
Oh. All right, we're going to turn all that up. Does anybody have any questions thus far?
What kind of salt? Kosher?
Kosher. Yeah, I always... And honestly, iodized salt gives you that, like, strong, kind of very pungent flavor. But when I am cooking vegetables or pasta, I use iodized. It goes a long way. But when I bake, when I'm cooking, I use kosher. So, okay?
And in my sauce, I use iodine sauce. You know,
You use what?
the regular salt.
Yeah.
Because what happens, it melts. I think that the kosher salt doesn't melt. You know what I mean? So
Sky, when you see Heather, I have a quart of tomatoes that I think I left over there. Garlic, yeah, still there. So clearly we're going to cook this until we start seeing that the peppers start to wilt, right? This is where I'm going to pretend I'm going to add my wine. This is where I would add my wine. Shh. My cousin Catherine uses white wine.
that's fine. I don't.
I like it.
That's
Let's pretend this is a really good wine. I could use either. Last night, what you're going to taste, I used red. My cousin Catherine uses white, according to Aunt Angela. All right. So again, this is a dish that definitely you have to give yourself 10 minutes to prepare, but then it needs to cook for 2 hours. By 45 minutes to an hour, that was cooked. Now, there's a couple variations here, different than what he does. I don't like my peppers to be completely disintegrated. And if you put the peppers in here with the meat and then you cook it for 4 hours, your peppers are gone. I mean, honestly gone. So last night, what you're about to have is I cooked the meat with my tomato sauce. I don't want to start a feud. But I cooked my meat in the tomato sauce for about 45 minutes. I set my timer. Then I added my peppers. And as you'll see, I still have some really nice peppers. I remember being a little girl and eating this dish. I had to be 6, honestly, on a roll. And even then, I knew it was special. Like at 6 years old, I was like, man, this is good. But I also remember like, wow, I wonder why the peppers are so cooked.
because they taste better.
It does.
Like that. They taste better.
No, he's right. It does give it a better flavor. And so that's up to you. And remember we were talking about the past couple demos, that cooking, unlike baking, you can do whatever you want, right? If you like the peppers hard, my sister, God rest his soul, was married. Her husband liked raw vegetables. We hated cooking because he wanted to hear the crunch in the vegetable, my brother-in-law Josh. And we like our vegetables cooked. You know, we don't like them crunchy. I don't like to hear them. Kind of the same with that. Is that getting hot, by the way?
Yes, it's definitely hot.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay, so because we're going to rush it and I want to get this demo pretty much done, we want to stick to 30 minutes. Let's pretend they're soft.
They're getting soft. You know, you want them kind of like decent.
Okay, so now I'm going to add this meat back. And we're going to put that juice back in it too. Now look at all this. Remember, fat is flavor. All that juice, that's what you always want. None of your food should be dry. You know, we'll talk about dry cooking, roasting versus braising. You know, stewing, you want all that wet food.
If you look in my freezer right now, you'll see little half pints. If we have steak, I save that oil.
Yeah.
And,
He saves his fat.
I save the fat. You know what I mean? And that's, I say put it in the freezer. It freezes real well. Then when I get ready to make any kind of sauce or something like that, I use that. Take it out of the freezer and use it. because it's all flavor. I mean, why throw it away? That's what you want.
Okay, so this is beautiful. Honestly, the ratio looks good. There's not a whole lot of green pepper. We want it smaller. He likes his smaller.
What I do is even when I make pepper and eggs, I chop them. You know what I mean? Instead of the long, because you're in mouth, you get a whole piece of pepper, and you don't want that. You want everything. She likes it.
I like it.
I don't.
So I want to talk to you about tomatoes. Remember, tomatoes are my thing. I think that's why I keep going back and forth to beautiful Italy. Their tomatoes are so lovely. So when you buy a tomato, and I love the internet, I've learned about brands and tomatoes. And what I learned is that some companies bring their tomatoes before they can them to a certain temperature. So we could consider them cooked, right? And some companies, they don't. And some companies, they almost can them almost raw, and the way they can them is different. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just like if we're canning food, right? You bring your jam has to be a certain temperature when you make your jams and your preserves and things like that. Same with tomatoes. Then there's some companies that have a different way to do it. What?
Let me pour that in
Well,
there.
pour that. And so I'm going to use, right now, this is a great tomato. Now this is a whole tomato, and it's not from Italy. And I really do love it. It's a fresh tomato, and you can eat it raw. And then this is from Italy, and I found this brand while I was traveling over there. So I'm going to use a little bit of fresh tomato, or plum tomato, and a little bit of passata, right? We've talked about passata. It's just... So again, no, this is what I'm using right here. This is the brand I'm using. And I want you to look at that. Do you see how thick? How thick it is? It's in almost like a puree. Versus sometimes you get it and it's almost like in tomato water.
Yeah.
Right? I don't like the tomato water. I like this. And, again, I learned something else I want to share with you. So there are companies, I'm not going to name names or whatever, but there are companies that will only can what they harvest. They only can what they harvest. So if they only have 20 acres of fresh tomatoes to harvest, that's all they're harvesting. They're not going to the neighbor and borrowing tomatoes. They're not going, to the next town or the next state to buy tomatoes. They're only harvesting their tomato. So it's a pretty consistent tomato. And over the years being in business, I've realized that I'll be stuck on a tomato product for our restaurant. And then one day I taste it and I go, this is not the tomato that I signed up for. And after doing some research, I find out that the tomato comes from this little town. Well, that town didn't produce a good tomato. They went to the neighbor, and the neighbor harvests the tomatoes for them. It's different soil. It's a different grower. Does that make sense? It's just like wine, yeah. And so it's really important that you find what you like. You find it fresh. You do some research on that brand, because that's why everybody always goes, why does the food taste so different in Italy? Well, they know what they're doing as far as the type of tomato and the brands they use and how they can and how they resource it versus how we do it here, where sometimes that company might be into more of a profit versus the quality, quantity versus quality. And so, not. And let me pass this around. You can smell it. You can smell it. Here, Larry, will you take it? Oh, there you go. Smell it and look at it. It's so beautiful and so red that you could eat that tomato with maybe a little bit of garlic, a quick cook on the stove, toss it with some fresh pasta, and that's the difference, right? We want to add sugar, we want to add this, we want to add that, because we're probably not using a beautifully sweet, delicious, fresh tomato. Make sense? Okay.
I like whole tomatoes, like in here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This
That's
is
what I like.
really spot on. Now, sorry. This is beautiful. Now, I would add a little bit more broth, maybe, or some more tomato. I'm going to add what?
No. I would have used that rest of that tomato that's in there.
We can
So what happens now, if you look at here, you can see that like it's wet. When you take the lid off of it, when you take so you can see, it's wet. The longer you cook it, it gets thicker.
It's definitely going to look.
And then it looks like what she's got right there.
Look how, see how the veal has kind of turned, like pulled apart?
You don't put a stock or anything in yours. Just eat the
I use just tomato, yep. That's it. This becomes this. Now the reason this has a little bit of a deeper color is because I used a little red wine last night.
See, and I don't.
But I gotta say something, is that sometimes change is good. Sometimes
No,
it's
it's
tastier.
She's wrong on that, believe
I'm
me.
not really.
She changes things, though. You know, like, I really am, everything that I do is my mother, you know, and I kind of like that.
Grandma,
You want to use this?
No. Every time I made something for
You wanna put the
Grandma,
rest
she
of this in
loved
there?
it. Yeah, of course. She
Everybody
asked-
see this? Now, this is what I do. I like the whole tomatoes and let that, as it stews, you know me.
That's really good. What? Are you going to eat that on a sandwich and talk about my red peppers?
No, this will go down.
All right. So I want to share something else. You know that we make fresh pasta pretty much 4 times a day or 4 times a week here at the market. This tagliatelle, this would be great over that. And also another thing, this freezes amazing. You would cool it down the next day. You'd put it in your quart containers, put it in the freezer or in pint containers, thaw it out, you know, in the morning, and then cook this with this over top of it and some fresh grated imported Parmesan cheese. It's mind blowing. It's so good. I'm not kidding. It's so delicious. So this is it. This is it. It is exactly 10:30. 10:32. We made this beautiful dish, and I can tell you this is great in a pressure cooker or a crock pot also. Crock pot, you leave in the morning, you come back, and it's
Done.
done. Delicious. And in fact, some say could be better just because of that slow simmering.
When you make that, once you've got it all ready to go now, do you leave it on the stove top or do you put it in a low oven? 'Cause I usually
It depends. If I was using my my La Creuset, I would put it in the oven at 350. However, last night I made it at home. I took it home because I didn't want to be here all night, and I just very low. Anything that you're cooking, once you get it to a boil, you bring it up to a boil,
And then
down
turn
to a
it down.
simmer.
Yeah.
A very, very low simmer. In fact, last night I didn't even want to see bubbles. I wanted to see 1 or 2 bubbles. 1 or 2 bubbles. I didn't want it bubbling. Then I knew it was simmering versus boiling, right? Because there's a difference between boiling and simmering. Yes. You would prepare it. If those of you that have the Instapot, they have a searing. They have a searing thing. But if I were doing it in the crock pot, honestly, I might. Yeah, he's saying you could put it all together. The only thing I might do is take a little pan and sear my meat first. Season the meat. Always season the meat first in a bowl. In a bowl. Don't put it flat and put your salt and pepper because you know you're only getting that top seasoned. You always want to put, whether it's you're making potatoes, my blood just ran cold. If you're making potatoes, if you're cooking shrimp, whatever you're doing, always put it in a bowl. You should have a stainless steel bowl in your cabinet at all times, or a
But
glass
although,
bowl.
if you're putting it in a hot pot, that means you're in a hurry. So you don't sear it. You know what I'm saying to you? You want to get it, push it, put it in there, put the lid on it, and go to work or do whatever you have to do and come home at a certain time.
But the meat you would sear.
I wouldn't sear nothing. I'd just put everything in there and just go.
Well, make it twice, sear it, and then don't sear it. And then email me at lisa@DiFebo's.com and let me know which is better
I
flavor.
don't believe me, it'll taste exactly the same.
It might. Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I don't argue with them. Sometimes I like it. Okay, that's it. Anything
Is there
else?
any, like, you see,
Oh.
any questions or anything like that?
Let me just show you guys for, you know.
how much do you have a pound of veal? How much is a syrup? How many people?
Well, that's 3 pounds. That's 3 pounds.
The recipe online, 2 pounds.
I'm going to do it in pounds. I would say that would serve probably 4 or 5 people. But remember, it depends on what you want to do with it. Do you
Do
want to
it,
make a sandwich? Sorry, my back went to you.
Yeah,
Or make it a stew.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, some people put it over top of pasta.
So nice.
I'm not a keen person because I don't like sweet peppers over top of pasta for some reason or another. Me personally, you know what I mean?
I do.
But she does. So that's why I
So-
have chocolate and vanilla ice cream.
Let me show you something. So this is how this is going to look. You're going to put it right on here, right? And that's your little sandwich. And this is probably the only thing in the world. This is the only thing in the world that I probably don't put cheese on. I'm going to taste it.
Nice and thick. That's where you don't have a problem.
Yeah. I'm going to taste it. Uh-huh.
How can you do it? It's so damn hot. You can burn your mouth.
It's not fair.
I got that for you. All right. Next week, I think we're going to do calamari, a calamari stew. So, I love
Stewing
you.
with the calamari with the
Everybody-
spaghetti. That's really delicious.
Thank you. We'll see you next Tuesday, 10 o'clock, here at Facebook Live. Have a
See
good
you,
one.
cuz.